Okay, so welcome back, everybody. I made it to Georgia. A lot of sore muscles and a lot of tired, need a vacation type long rest. But we are here. I have not taken a look at your midterms yet. Bear with me. I just got my internet hooked up again Saturday and just got my computer hooked up a half hour ago because we had to make several trips to Tennessee back and forth, and I got back to Georgia last night at 10 o'clock, and so I have not had a chance to really pull up anybody's midterms. I will get them graded this week. It might be closer to this weekend, but I will work diligently and get them to you as I get them graded. And my plan is to also go ahead and give you access to the answer key after I'm done grading everything. That might be later this weekend. But I do plan on giving you access to my answer key for the midterm so you can see how the problems are worked. It's very similar to the answer key to the homework. So just bear with me. I want to make sure that I've got everything and that there's no problems with anybody's midterms, that I have to ask them to resubmit or something, like say a file didn't come through or what have you. But after I'm sure that everything's good and we've got everything we need, I will submit the answer key so you can see it. So this week, all you have is Chapter 8. Make sure you do not do Chapter 7. I know we skipped it, okay? But we are doing Chapter 8 this week, okay? There is only one problem that you have to do, and that should be it. So let's go over Chapter 8 real quickly. It's about pricing and other product management decisions. I'm going to let you guys read, and I will get you a study guide. It will probably be tomorrow night that I do the study guide. So just give me a little time to get caught up with that, okay? So pricing and other product management decisions, you've got to understand the value chain. You have to understand all of the principles of making the pricing decision. You have to understand target costing. And there are also other costing techniques like continuous improvement costing and benchmarking, okay? So those are the topics that are covered in this chapter, and just realize that these are the things that you're going to be responsible for this week. So the value chain, for instance, is the set of value-producing activities that stretches from basic raw materials to the final consumer. So these are the activities that are actually adding value to that product or service, okay? So if you take a look at the value chain for a beverage packaging product, so this could be somebody like Pepsi or Coke or Evian or somebody like that, okay? You've got the first level of business entities, okay? So you've got timber producer, pulp mill, paperboard manufacturer, converter, beverage company, grocery store, final customer. Okay, so all of these are needed and are necessary in manufacturing that actual product because you've got to have the packaging, you've got to have, labeling, things of that nature. And in addition to the actual product itself, the liquid. So the second level is processes. So this is procurement, storage, display in the grocery stores, and sell to the customer, okay? And then the third level is activities. So this is where you prepare the purchase order, you receive the order, inspect delivery, move to storage, and pay the invoice. Those are all the various levels of activity. So in the first level you have the business entity, the second level you have the processes, and the third level you have the activities. That's the value chain for a beverage company. Okay? Okay. So it talks about all of that stuff and gives you examples, and I'm going to let you read through that. So here's generic internal processes of the internal value chain. Again, you can see what happens. Inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and service. Okay? You're always going to have this service component at the end of any product because you have to support your products, no matter what it is. Okay? So just make sure that you kind of read through those and become familiar with them. I'm sure it's going to be quiz. Okay? Gives you more examples of value chain perspectives. Let's see. And these have some different perspectives. So like Foster focuses on core competencies, value added and value chain perspectives. There's a difference there. Read through that. And then it comes to the pricing decision. So the pricing decision is the major one that you really want to focus on, okay? So pricing is very, very complex in terms of deciding what you need to charge somebody. And this chapter will do a very good job of telling you, considerations that you need to make in pricing decisions, okay? So marginal revenue, it talks about that, which is the varying increment in total revenue derived from the sale of additional unit, okay? Increases in production cause an increase of marginal cost. So again, this is the varying increment in total cost required to produce and sell additional units of product, okay? So know those two definitions, know what they are, and be able to distinguish between them. Okay. Here it talks about cost-based approaches to pricing. Cost is not the only consideration in pricing. That is something you need to realize. Cost data is usually available. Okay. Cost-based prices are defensible. Okay, so basically what that means is, you can go up to somebody and say, I want to charge this much for my product because it costs me this much to make that product, or it costs me this much to service that particular service. Okay? So you have to be able to also demonstrate that revenues exceed costs if the firm is to remain in business. That's pretty standard. You got to make money. Every company is in business to make money. One of the things that you have to consider is all of the costs that goes into making your product or providing your service. Okay? There's a lot of things that people forget. All right? Support is one of them. Well, you may have to pay somebody to support your product. So like, especially in an IT company, if it's a software-based product, you have to pay for support. And support people can be very expensive. They can also be very inexpensive, but you still have to pay them nonetheless. That should be factored into the price of your service or product, okay? So those are some things that you need to determine. And these are, this is a cost-based pricing for a new product. So these are the steps you take, right? It walks you down through them, okay? Cost-based pricing in single product companies, it explains that. And then it takes a look at how do you come up with a price. So, profit equals total revenues minus total costs. We know that, right? So, in this example that they gave you up here, they show you how to solve for price. So you've got your profit, which we know is $30,000, and your total revenues, which we find minus your total costs. So you take the price, which they say is to be, or sell for the price, I'm sorry. So you're going to take your price times 10,000 equals $300,000 plus 30,000. So you can see these numbers up here, right? So you get the 300,000 by determining that there's 200,000 plus 10 times 10,000 rugs, right? So that gives us our 300,000 plus the 30,000 of annual profit, okay? And you're going to take your price times 10,000. Well, then this becomes an algebra equation, okay? So you've got 330,000 divided by 10,000. Remember algebra, moving it around? So you do this side, then divide this over here, and that gives you your $33, okay? So again, this is kind of working your way through the problem. You have to think outside the box on these problems. Sometimes they'll give you bits and pieces of information. Sometimes they won't. You have to be able to get back to it, okay? And setting up an equation is one of the best ways to do that. Alright, so markup on cost base. This is the formula. It's cost not included in the base plus desired profit divided by the cost included in the base. Alright? So it shows you here, it gives you an example of how to calculate that and what it looks like. So the markup on variable costs is 75 cents. Alright? The initial selling price, if it wants you to determine that, what the initial selling price is, they calculate it out down here to $21. Markup on manufacturing costs shows you how to calculate that. You guys need to read through these problems and make sure you understand how to do them. The book does a good job of walking you down through this, but you just have to read it and understand it step by step. Okay? Alright, so that's pretty much the mid-chapter review. Then we move on to target costing. Okay? Target costing in competitive environment. This walks you down through the steps. You need to read those. Probably will be quizzed. The target costing encourages design for production. Know what design for manufacture is. Okay. And it gives you examples of this. These are design for manufacture examples right here. Okay. Why target costing? Because it reduces time to introduce products. Okay. It does require cost information and it requires coordination. Okay. So there are pros and cons of target costing. Here they are. Make sure you know this table. Okay. Very important. Target costing is best used with products of short life cycles. Okay? So you have startup, growth, maturity, and decline. So it talks about those 4 distinct stages of their life cycle when using target costing, okay, of any product. It helps to manage the life cycle costs. Okay, so here's a graph that shows a commitment and expenditure for high technology products with relatively short product lives. So one of the things that you have to consider is that technology products, for instance, have very short lives. Okay, the reason for that is, as we all know, you can buy a computer and before you've even got it out of the store, it is obsolete. Okay? That's how fast technology is advancing and moving. So any technology product is going to have a very short life cycle. Okay? So that's what this is demonstrating. Okay? You have to be able to quickly recuperate your money on technology products. Okay? You have to quickly recuperate your investment. So that's why in a lot of cases they're so expensive. Because by the time you get your product out there and released, it's probably obsolete. So you have to have a very quick turnaround on that product. Okay? Then there's continuous improvement costing. It's also known as Kaizen costing. Okay? It calls for establishing cost reduction targets for products or services that an organization is currently providing to customers. Okay? So basically what this is saying is we want to continuously improve this product to where it doesn't cost a customer as much as what it did, because it's taking us less time to manufacture, produce it, or service it. Okay? So they give the example of Publix grocery stores here. Wanted to reduce the cost of their merchandise handling in each of its stores, and the management set a target reduction of 2% per year. Okay? So if given that, they had current annual materials handling costs of $100,000 and expected to increase the next year due to 10% growth, the budget would be $107,800, and they show you the calculation there. Okay? So it's basically taking the 100,000 times 1.10, because 100% plus 10%, right? And then multiplying that by 0.98. So that's the 2% reduction right there. Okay? 100% minus 2% is 98%. All right? So that shows you how to calculate it right in there for that particular example. All right. Benchmarking is a systematic approach to identifying best practices to help an organization take action to improve performance. So this is, the benchmarking is kind of really more so now out in the industry called KPIs, key performance indicators. Okay, so benchmarking shows people how to improve their performance and reduce their costs, improve their profits. Okay? But there are specific actions that have to take place in order for that to happen. And benchmarking allows us to measure those. Okay? Alright, so that's the end of the chapter. Let's take a look at your problem, which is E8-21, right here. So this is an example of product pricing for a single product of Colgate products. Okay? So basically, go down through, shows you that for A, if sales wanted to, for 2015, remain at 13,000 units, what price should Colgate charge to obtain the same profit as last year? Okay? So, first of all, we have to figure out how to find that. Okay? So, A. Let's do this. All right. So there's a bit of an exercise that we have to go through to get the price that's needed to keep the same profit as last year. So we have to find out what our final price is going to be. All right? So the first thing we're going to do is to start by taking the current variable manufacturing costs per unit. Okay? So, current variable manufacturing cost per unit is going to look like this. You're going to take the $520,000, okay? So 520 divided by 13,000, because it says 13,000 units, right? So we've got our variable costs of 520,000 right here. It says less variable costs, so cost of goods sold. 520,000 divided by 13,000 units. And that gives us 40. Then we've got to get the expected increase per unit, which states right here, variable manufacturing costs of $8 per unit. Okay, increase in that. So increase in per unit is $8. And then, so that's going to be the expected, when we add those two together, okay, so that's our expected variable manufacturing costs. Okay, then we're going to take the current and expected variable selling admin costs per unit, and that is going to be the 143,000 right here divided by the 13,000. Okay? So that's going to give us our total expected variable costs per unit. Okay, so we're just going to add this plus this. Oops. Okay, so the 48 plus the 11, you get 59. All right. Then you've got to do the exact same thing, or you've got to figure out what your current fixed manufacturing overhead is, expected increase, expected fixed manufacturing overhead, current and expected fixed selling and administrative costs, and expected what your total fixed cost would be. Okay? So, here's how that works. And all of that is given within the problem. You just have to do a little addition. It's very similar. So this is given, current fixed manufacturing overhead, right here, right? So that is 520,000. Then expected increase. The expected increase is 35 right there. Expected fixed manufacturing overhead is then the total of those two, right? Then you're going to add in your current and expected fixed selling admin costs which is again this 200,000 right here. Okay. 210. And then you're going to get your expected fixed costs total. Okay. So this is that plus that, right? Alright, so now we've got the numbers we need. Now we have to solve for the price. Okay? So you had to get your total variable cost per unit, and you had to get your total expected fixed costs. Okay? So those are the first two steps of solving this pricing question. Okay? So you get your total variable cost per unit and your total fixed costs overall. Okay? Alright, so now the formula for this is revenue equals fixed costs plus variable costs plus profit. Okay? So that's what we're going to solve for. So we know that we can fill in most of these blanks, right? So price is going to be price times 13,000 because that's how many units we have, right? So we have 13,000 units that we're wanting to solve for. Okay? And then that's going to be equal to, we're going to set that equal to the 765,000 that we have right here for the total expected fixed costs, because that's what the formula calls for, is fixed costs, right? So 765 plus, we've got to get our variable cost, because remember, we only got it per unit. So we're going to solve here 59 times 13,000. Okay? And then we're going to add in our gross profit, which our gross profit here is this net income amount, this 167,000. So add that in. And then you're going to solve that equation. So what you have to do is you have to first solve this side, and then you're going to have price times 13,000, which means to move that 13,000 over here, you have to divide it, right? So then that's going to give you your price. And I'm just going to put price equals what? You guys got to solve that. Okay? Everybody understand A? Okay. Alright, so let's look at B. So B says, management believes that sales can be increased to 16,000 units if the selling price is lowered to $107. Is this action desirable? Okay, so we have to come in and tell management whether or not lowering their price to $107 is desirable. So, fairly simple. Basically, you have to take the selling price that they want to lower it to, which is $107, and subtract out your variable costs, so minus $59, And that's going to give you your contribution margin. Okay, so this is going to be okay. Then you're going to get your expected total contribution. And to do that, we're going to take that $48 we just calculated, and we're going to multiply it by 16,000. Because 16,000 is the new amount that they want to manufacture, right? So once you get that, then you're going to take less your fixed costs, which we know our fixed costs were $765,000, right? This right here. So you would then subtract out $765,000, right? So this would be minus. I'm not going to solve this one for you. So that gives you your expected profit or loss. Okay? You have to figure that out. All right? And then you have to tell me whether or not that's worth lowering the price and manufacturing more units. Okay? So that's going to come with you reading the book and finding out whether or not that's a good decision. Okay? C says, after considering the expected increase in costs, what sales volume is needed to earn a profit of $167,000 with a unit selling price of $107? So then it's coming back and asking you to figure out the required sales volume to get it to that price. Okay? So here's how you do that. So you're going to take, there's just one line to this equation, required sales volume. Okay, is going to equal, just state in that. Okay. You're going to take your $765,000, which is your total fixed costs. You're going to add $167,000, your profit, right? And then you're going to divide that by your contribution margin of 48, and that's going to give you your answer. Okay? So, not a real hard chapter. What do you guys think? You understand? Everybody good with that? Any questions? Sounds good? Nope? Good. All right. Yes, I just need to brush up on algebra. Yeah. That's very true. In accounting, everybody asks, or people think when they're in high school, I'll never use algebra again. Oh, yes, you will. So, yes, it's just a matter of using the equations and stuff like that and remembering. Yeah, remembering, how to move things to the other side of the equation, which whatever you're doing on the one side, you do the exact opposite onto the other. So if you're multiplying on one side, then you divide it on the other. If you're dividing on one side, you multiply it on the other. If you're adding on one side, you subtract on the other. So basically that's just what it amounts to. So anyway, does anybody else have any other questions or anything that we need to cover? Okay. If not, I'm going to call it a night. I will get this stuff posted and get it up on your Blackboard accounts. So just watch for it. It'll come up tonight. And I know, Felicia, I'm really glad that there's only one problem after tonight. I'm still recovering from a move. And I still have to grade all your midterms. So, anyway, yeah, I'm glad there's only one tonight too, and it's fairly simple, straightforward. So, just study, read it, rewatch the webinar if you need to. Keep up the good work. I'm sure everything will be fine. I'm going to try to get some rest, but got to get that discussion board done first. I'll eventually catch up, maybe. So, anyway. All right, guys. You take care. Let me know if there's anything you need. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you soon. Next webinar is going to be Sunday at 2. Okay? So, Sunday at 2. All right. We'll talk to you later.